Hello, hello. Happy Sunday.
Hello.
Welcome. Hi, Lindsay. It's good to see you. Nicole's here, Marlena, Brittany, Julie, Raquel, Megan, Sarah. One showing up as iPhone, so I'm not sure who that is. I'm kind of glad you guys can't see completely behind me. I'm going to let you see a little bit. So you can see my kitchen counter looks like a mess because I got my groceries, got my fridge cleaned out, but haven't finished my meal prep getting ready for the week yet. And so it is not ready. It is a mountain of stuff and it is snowing outside. So it's at the end of February, not time for snow. That's fun like earlier in the year, not now. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get right to it. I'm sure we'll have some more people plug in as we get going. No announcements that I can think of other than that next week I'll be traveling. I'm going to be, yep, I will be traveling. I'm going to be speaking at a coaches conference. And so the call will be pre-recorded on Sunday next week because I will be traveling to Vegas to speak at a coaches conference. Actually, Coach Paige and Coach Leah are going to be there with me. And so we're going to have a ton of fun. They're going to learn some really cool stuff. And I get a really cool opportunity to speak and talk to people about actually what we're doing in Fitme. And so Ellen, whatever you're doing looks awesome. I just love how you're adventuring out into the universe and then taking us with you. So I think that's the only announcement. I want to go right into our topic for the week. I was thinking long and hard about what we should talk about, and I decided to talk about tools and utilizing tools and what that means, because I know that when I very, very first started doing both things, one, working on a healthy lifestyle, and then two, coaching, I thought in both cases that there were certain things that I must have, and I must do it this way because someone else did it that way and I must do it that way too. And so even when I was first starting off on, making my own physical transformation and building a healthy lifestyle, I remember thinking, well, I need to have one of those armbands. Do you guys remember the armbands that were really popular for a little while because of that show? It might have been Biggest Loser, but it was one of those TV shows about weight loss. And they had these armbands and they were really big. And they had this big old thing on there, but it measured, it's kind of like what a watch does now, like a smartwatch. I don't even know if there were smartwatches then, but I was like, oh, that's a tool. I must have that tool. I saw it. I wanted it. I wanted it to tell me how many calories I was burning. I wanted to compare it to my MyFitnessPal where I was tracking food, and I wanted to see that. And those two things were both tools. And I remember thinking to myself, well, this is how you do it, because I watched somebody else do it that way. In Fitme, we actually have quite a few tools because we know that everybody is different. And so when we very first start on this journey, it feels like, well, I need to do, what's the exact thing that I'm supposed to do? And one of the more surprising things in Fitme is that we often ask you, well, let's figure out what's going to work for you. And some of these things may be helpful and some of them might not. And some of these things, last week we talked about layering things on. And this week, I want to talk to you about utilizing tools for different seasons, because the same tool that might work for Ellen might not work for Marlena, might not work for Brittany, might not work for me. And that doesn't mean that the tools are bad, but part of what we're trying to develop is a skill set around using accountability, using coaching, using community, and using certain tools to help us in different seasons. So let's talk about a handful of these tools. And then I want you to remember that, again, they're tools. So we're going to put them in your tool belt. And if you don't know how to use them, that's cool. That's what we're here for. We're going to help you learn how to use these tools, but then you do not use them all. Like if you're going to build something, we're going to break it down. Imagine you've got all these tools. You've got a hammer, you've got a drill, you've got a wrench, you've got all of the different tools. You've got a tape measure, you've got this and that, and you're going to build and put together a shelf. You're not using all the tools and just smashing them at the shelf. You're using them at different times, in different sequences, for different reasons, and you actually have to know how to use the tools. You're not going to take the hammer and try to screw in the screw, right? You're not going to take the tape measure and try to smash a nail in. That's not using the tools correctly, even though they're tools for the project, right? So it could be tools for your body's project, which is to build a healthy lifestyle, get to a healthy body weight, lose weight, get stronger, get more energy. Your project we've got a bunch of tools, but we could use them either correctly or incorrectly and at the right time or the wrong time. And so I want to talk about a handful of these tools now and then just put them in your tool belt. So tool number one that I want to talk about is the scale. The scale can be a tool that we can use in certain seasons and we don't need to use at all in other seasons. For someone, it might be very helpful to get on the scale, either daily or weekly or monthly, and to have that there because they might want to see how it's progressing. And if used properly, you're going to be getting on in some regular frequency. You're going to be comfortable with the fluctuation. You're going to talk to your coach about why the scale is fluctuating, and you're going to be looking for a trend over time. That's how you would use that tool correctly. But do you need to use it? No, it might not work for some people. Some people might be like, when I get on the scale, I just want to throw everything out the window and quit, even though it's still a tool. You don't have to use it. So that's one tool that we have at our disposal that can be really helpful in different seasons and for different people. Then you may or may not need to use it. Another tool that could or that might be helpful is tracking your food. That's a tool. It's something that can be used in different seasons if you need to. And what I mean by tracking your food is a food journal. That could be a paper journal where you're using it more for awareness and mindful eating and recording like, hey, this is when I eat, this is what I was feeling, this is what I chose. That would be a really good way to do a paper journal. Another way might be to use MyFitnessPal or Chronometer or a Lose It app, where you're getting a more accurate picture of what you're taking in because it has all of the calories, the macros, the micronutrients in there. And so in which case you might be weighing and measuring your food, which is another tool. And so you're trying to get an accurate picture of what you take in. For some people, this can be a really effective tool to learn about food. For other people, it can feel like restriction and a big giant weight has been put on your back and is not a helpful tool. And for some people, it just depends on the season. Sometimes it might be helpful. Sometimes it might not be helpful. It's a tool. It's in your toolbox. Another Fitme tool that we have is Marco Polo. It's a tool. It is an accountability group. It's people to connect with. Does everybody need to use it? No, but we suggest everybody get familiar with it because in some seasons it can be incredibly helpful. And so for some people, it's something they want to use all the time. For other people, it's like, I can't use that tool ever. It makes me crazy. And for some people, it's like, I like it sometimes, but I got to use it this kind of way. And that's great too. But it's a tool at your disposal, is not a mandatory thing. Another tool would be a workout plan or program. So having a specific laid out, this is what I'm going to do in the gym, or this is what I'm going to do at home, a like actual written out, must do it this way kind of thing is a tool. Having a plan is a tool. And for some people, again, in a lot of seasons, that can be a helpful tool. We recommend that for a lot of people to use frequently because it's such a good one. But for other seasons, like, can you imagine if you just got over an illness, if you were just, if you're traveling all the time, having this plan that requires you go to the gym might not be a helpful tool right then. It won't help you if you feel like it's this big burden. It might not be right for that season. In other seasons, you might need to bring it back. Coaching or Marco Poloing your coach was what Molly said is a helpful tool. And so your coach in general is a tool. I mean, you guys have already opted in to have a coach be a tool for you this year, but in your life, utilizing a coach is a tool. You might need to use it in certain seasons and you might not in other seasons. There are times when I must have a coach for my nutrition and other times when it doesn't matter at all. I'm good. There are times when I must have a coach who's helping me do workouts, and there's other seasons when I don't need it. And learning when I need to use these tools is part of creating this healthy lifestyle. And so Marco Poloing your coach, which is different necessarily than being in the big Marco Polo groups, is a tool and one we recommend mastering. Like, how do you utilize it? An accountability buddy is a tool. Some of you guys, we've partnered up with people to be accountability buddies. Utilizing accountability buddy is a tool. How do you use it? Well, you have to get clear. We did a Sunday call on this, but you have to get clear on what you're using your accountability buddy for. You have to ask them for it. You want to define a specific time interval typically, and you want to communicate on how you are actually going to talk to each other, whether that's text or Marco Polo or email or in person. How are you utilizing that accountability buddy? That's how you use that tool. And sometimes, again, it can be really helpful, and other times not so much. Either you don't need it or it's just a burden that you don't want. So what are some other tools that you guys can think of that we can use in this, in our quest to build a healthy lifestyle, healthy, happy bodies? What are some tools that are helpful for you and like the seasons that they're helpful? I'm going to name another couple while we're thinking, but throw them in the chat. Um, uh, Activity watches. So step trackers is a tool. That might be something that's very helpful. It can motivate you. It can remind you to get up and get going. For other people, it can cause like obsession, and they start to really fret over what the watch is telling them, or the Fitbit or the whatever, and it's causing problems. So it's not a good tool for them. For other people, it's a great tool. Leah said Instacart. I like that one. That's a great tool. And utilizing some sort of grocery reorder, whether that is you're picking it up or Instacart, where you're essentially like planning out your grocery list, ordering it, and then it just populates for you, or you can go back and see, oh, that's what I ordered. That is a phenomenal tool. And again, do you need it all the time? No, maybe you just want to go to the grocery store sometimes. That's fine too, but it can be a really helpful tool to utilize. Julie says the app. And so the app is a great tool. It's another one that we encourage most people to use. Like there are some tools, guys, where you're going to be like, your coach is strongly encouraging you to use it. So again, think about the putting together the shelf. We've got some flexibility there, but there are some times where we just need to put two pieces of wood together that we're going to need a screw and we're going to need a screwdriver. And your coach has done it before. And so they're going to give you their very best, hey, this is why I think we need to use this tool in this season, but you can always get flexible. And Julie, you said the app, that's another one we strongly encourage most people to use because of the accountability of it, because of the shared communication between you and your coach. But it is a great tool. Calendar, another good one. Like utilizing a calendar, a planner, an app in your phone for reminders can be a great tool. Lindsay said letting her colleagues know about her goals regarding eating meals out so they don't ask me about eating out. Yeah, I think that's a great one. And communication is a tool, and practicing it so that you can ask for what you need for the people in your life, whether it's people at work or whether it's your family and friends or whatever it is. Like those are really important tools to put in your tool belt, is that skill set around like asking for what you need. Megan said a wins journal. And yeah, I think that's another good one, like a journal in general. We utilize journaling as a tool sometimes it's around mindful eating. Sometimes journaling can be around stress. Sometimes journaling can just be an outlet for you to do some planning, but that's a really good tool. And celebrating your wins along the way is great. Nicole says get an accountability buddy. That might be her favorite tool. That's another one that we strongly suggest. We don't always encourage everybody to do it immediately, like right off the jump, but like eventually you're probably going to be suggested to have an accountability buddy because it's that important of a tool to put in your tool belt. And the cool thing is, guys, is when we're talking about this, I mean, we can get creative. We can come up with a million different things, but you don't need a million tools. You need a couple. You need a couple that work for you. And then you need to start and the reason I wanted to do this call is not to introduce you to all the tools and say like, let's try them all. But the concept that I really want you to walk away with is building a healthy lifestyle means feeling empowered around utilizing these tools. And so one of the clients that I personally coach, we're actually addressing the scale for the first time in 3 years. We've kind of messed with the scale, but not really. And we're finally at this point where I'm like, we need to actually utilize this as a tool. And I need you to have this in your toolbox. It's time. And so for her, it really did depend on the season, but part of her moving on from Fitme and moving on from me being her coach would be that the scale is no longer this big like demon monster, that she can utilize it as a tool when she needs to. And again, you could utilize an accountability buddy as a tool when you need to. You can say, okay, this is a season where I'm going to need a coach again because I need to. And so you have this like empowerment around utilizing these tools. That's really what the point of this Sunday call is. Not that you need to use every tool, but that you start to figure out which ones really help you and then master them, master utilizing them. and then know when you need them in certain seasons. Shoot, even this Zoom call is a tool. Again, one that we encourage most people to use because we don't want you to miss out on this information, but this is a tool. This is something that we use to build our healthy lifestyle. So I would love to hear from you guys now, either some other tools that that we utilize in Fitme. Because again, I think also when I introduced this at the beginning, what I was trying to point out is that we actually can get past the belief system that there's only one way, because that's not true. And again, I thought that there was only one way when I was sort of embarking on this journey for myself. At first, I was like, well, this is the only way. And then, those zealots, right? Somebody who's had success one way, and then they tell you that's the only way. And you're like, there's other ways, but they're so amped on it because that's all they know. But that's what you think in the beginning, is that is the only way. And when we first started coaching also, and Molly and I were, it was just me and Molly and like one other coach at the time, we really only utilized one tool, which was macro tracking. That was our primary tool to help people. And then we realized we need a whole bunch more tools because everybody, like, this one tool is not doing it. It's not getting people to that healthy lifestyle. It's just one tool of what we actually need to create it. And so that's why we started building other pieces. It was like, okay, well, we need a community piece. So we're going to use Marco Polo as a tool. We need habits. So we're going to use habit tracking as a tool. We need, all these other pieces, because that's going to create much more success in the long term than just saying with this only one tool, only macro tracking or only calorie counting is the only way to do it. That's not true. And so that's another thing too, is like, again, remember, what works for you might not be the same as what's working well for somebody else. And that's okay. And they might be in a different season than you. And again, they just might not be ready for it, or you might not be ready for it. And that's okay too. So talk to me about some of these tools. Again, maybe some of the ones that I've listed, like activity trackers, like the scale, like macro tracking, like food journaling, like Marco Polo, like accountability buddies. These are some of our common tools in Fitme. And then again, there's other ones like a wins journal, communication tools, Instacart, all those good ones. Do you have one, especially some of you guys that have been around for a little bit, that you did not think would be helpful and then turned out to be super helpful for you as a tool that maybe somebody who's new might benefit from hearing?
I'm not sure I understand.
Not you, Siri.
I would say like the non-negotiable tool, like that, like setting little things like, I'm going to drink this glass of water before I have my coffee, and that's going to happen. It's non-negotiable, like that, just little things like that, so that I can set my mind to a different mindset of like, instead of like trying to like will something in, it's just a decision that's made and it's there, and then it kind of becomes a habit.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's a tool.
Well, I think it is, because it kind of reminds me of the reset, which I would consider to be a tool where you're sort of utilizing a little bit more black and white for a short time period so that you can create a new habit or routine. So you're like, hey, I'm, going to take a break from this, or this is a non-negotiable that I'm going to have my water. It's a little bit black or white, but it is a tool that you can use.
It is, and it's kind of like a vacation tool too, like having that like non-negotiable. I'm going to walk or something like that, so that.
Yeah, I like that one. Molly said this Sunday call is one of the key tools for her, is utilizing this Sunday call to start the week. Ellen, is it unmuting? I see your smiling face. I just can't hear you. Is it down on the bottom? Are you on your phone? Look down on the bottom. I'm not on my phone, so if anybody has a phone that can explain.
Got it.
Got it. You figured it out. Good.
A couple of things for tools. The accountability buddy is super helpful. Just check in, like, this is how many ounces of water I've done, and this is how many steps. And that's been very helpful. And I also like the little old-fashioned pedometer, that type.
Yeah.
Because That way I don't have to worry about, oh, the connecting it to my phone or anything like that. And then for me, the scale actually is a tool that I use just to keep me, it's like in the middle. So every morning when I get up, I just weigh myself. It's kind of, and not as like a good bad thing. It's just okay, am I staying within my parameters? Because I notice when I'm like, forget it, I don't care, that I stop weighing myself, because then I'll think I'm not gonna look because I'm gonna eat more cookies and junk food. So
Mhm.
I use it as a tool to kind of like keep me on track. So those are my tools.
I like it, Ellen. Those are great. And I think you're using the scale correctly when you say like I get on and it's not bad or good. I'm just kind of using it as a sanity check. And that tool works for you. I like it. What else, guys? Does anybody else have one that they really like, or again, that they're like trying, maybe something that you're trying to get used to, or you're like, I'm not really good at this one yet, or I don't like this tool. Hopefully it's not the Sunday call. It'd be pretty funny if you were like, I do not like this tool. I'm here, but I do not like it.
This is Lindsay.
Hey, Lindsay.
I would say while I'm not yet mastered the Fitme plate, the concept of the plate itself, and compartmentalizing my carbs, my veggie, my protein, that visual is really helpful for me.
I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even list the Fit Me plate as a tool. And that is exactly what it is. So I'm glad that the visual is helping, and that again, you're sort of like aware it's not like you're not all the way there yet, but it's helping. I like that. Thank you for sharing that one. You know what another tool is that's funny is taking pictures of your like I use taking selfies at the end of a workout or a walk as a tool. I use it as an accountability tool. And so probably people think I'm just like sharing it because I like to share it. It's actually just helping me be accountable. And so when I take a picture at the end of a workout and I post it on Instagram or social media or something like that, then it is something that helps me just kind of like acknowledge that I got it done. And then Molly just put in the chat social media in general, which I actually think is a great one to talk about as a tool because it can be helpful. Sometimes we can utilize it as a tool for inspiration, for ideas, for motivation. And then other times it can be a not great tool. We're like, we know that that's not helping us right now. And so I really like that one. Marlena says she uses pictures as well as a tool. And yeah, and then coffee talk, Raquel said. So podcast is kind of similar to social media. You can get inspiration, you can get ideas, you can get encouragement, and it can be a really helpful tool to help keep you on track or keep you focused.
I just wanted to add to what you had said, Christy, with the with taking pictures, which is something that I like to do, but I also like it because when I can go back in time and see how I felt, almost like a food diary, I can see what was I eating when I felt so good. So it's good to go back to.
Yeah, that's so good. And when people use tracking, like in MyFitnessPal, in the past, I would have them look back for that exact reason. They're like, well, this other season seemed to be better. And I'm like, well, let's go back and look and see, you know, what were you eating for snacks then? Like, what were you packing for lunch? But pictures work exactly the same way. Like you said, Lindsay, like, honestly, if you're taking pictures of your food, which you guys see me do that too, it's a tool. I'm literally more likely to make a Fit Me plate if I take a picture of it and put it on social media. I am, because if I take a picture of a plate and it's got just rice on it, not posting it. But if I'm like, I'm going to post this plate and I put rice and chicken, then I'm like, oh man, everybody's going to see, I better go find a veggie. So I go and dig out some broccoli or dig out some green beans because I want to post the plate that is a full Fit Me plate. And so again, it's like the pictures, like Lindsay said, can be like a really helpful accountability tool. And then they can also be a great way to look back and say like, okay, that's what I was doing. Sending pictures to your coach in the app can be a great tool. Whether that's like, hey, here's my portion sizes, here's what my Fit Me plate looks like. Oftentimes, if you need that level of accountability for a season, that could be really helpful. Say, I'm going to take a picture of every single plate and send it to you. And your coach is probably going to be like, wow, I can see so much more of what's going on here, and probably give you feedback. So that's another like really good tool, not just taking the pictures for yourself, but for your coach. Leah, what are those balls that you're making?
Oh, meatballs,
Oh, meatballs. They look good.
chicken meatballs.
They look great.
It's good prep because they make a lot.
Yeah.
That
You
angle.
have them all lined up.
I know.
Yeah, they look really, really good. So guys, your target for the week is just to sort of consider what tools you are utilizing right now, and then which ones you're not. And if you're not sure, then talk to your coach about it and say like, okay, we're using Marco Polo right now as a tool. We're going to use tracking like with pictures as a tool. We're going to be focused on, we're using the scale as a tool. Here's the things we're not using. Or maybe you're saying, hey, we're not going to use Marco Polo yet. The group stuff, we're going to just do one-on-one for now, talking back and forth. Hey, we're not going to get on the scale yet, but we are going to use pictures, like progress pictures as a tool. I didn't even list that one, but progress pictures, like physical body composition pictures, can be a tool that we can use. In measurement of body composition can be a really good tool, whether that's utilizing like a tape measure or something like that, or clothing size can be a really great tool to measure your progress. And so talk to your coach about what tools are you using to measure your progress? What tools are you using to create accountability? And what tools are you right now not utilizing in this season intentionally? And again, I want you guys to leave this call, but also to leave your time with Fitme, whether that's in a year or 2 years or whatever, to be like, I know now how to utilize these for forever. And now I can flex in and out of utilizing these tools. Cool, guys. Well, it's great seeing your face. Again, 2 quick reminders. Next week's call is pre-recorded. It is not live because I'm traveling, because I'm speaking at an event. And the meal prep personal training starts this Wednesday. So if you are in that group, make sure you are there. I know that group starts on Wednesday. If you have questions about that, talk to your coach. All right, guys, have a phenomenal week. It's good to see all your faces. Thank you for coming live. Love all of you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.